Now, guys, as I'm sure you're aware, I don't typically like to toot my own horn, especially not when I'm just out and about talking about life. But yeah, no, this definitely happened. At a time or another, I have been very, let's say, intimate with a celebrity named Nikki. Yes, that Nikki. The best extreme gear rider this side of the West, although she would argue probably the whole world. Give the Babylon rogues a run for their money. But yeah, there was a time at one point or another where me and her got a little familiar. But as I'm sure you guys can tell, it didn't really work out. But I'm getting ahead of myself. How it started, at least way back when, I just caught her riding one day. And me being me, curiosity taking the better of me, I just wanted to see where she was going. Because she looked like she was, in a hurry. So I followed behind her for a bit, and turns out, yeah, no, she was in the middle of a race. But it was more along the lines of street race, unsanctioned kind of stuff. No referees, no cameras. Well, at least no official cameras. So instead of like having an actual tournament or Grand Prix behind it, it was more along the lines of racing for like the equivalent of pink slips and bragging rights. And she won. However, street racing is kind of illegal, so she was in a bit of hot water with the fuzz when they showed up. But luckily for her, I know a thing or two about outrunning them. So we did. Led her somewhere else, and then we kind of just started talking. You know how it is. Your boy had to lay on the charm. And, well, let's just say we were both interested in each other. So we started hanging out after that. Hitting up a few areas here and there, going to the beach, going. She even taught me how to ride, actually. I don't typically mess with extreme gear. Like I said, I prefer making my own, like, air and moving off of it. Something about just hovering off the ground with technology just, I don't know, it feels unnatural to me. It feels wrong. So I typically don't do it. That and Boo would break both my kneecaps if she ever caught me riding someone else's gear that she didn't make. Like she doesn't hate it, but it's more, she has a very professional pride slash stubbornness when it comes to this kind of stuff because her rival has like she's big into making those and she makes a lot of top tier ones for like professional racers. So yeah, I kind of had to do it on the DL. But eventually, she made me my own board just to mess around with, and I got used to it. Even used it a few times for, well, I guess other dates, so to speak. Because again, it's just nice little bench to vibe on, if anything. But anyways, back to Miss Nikki. At a certain point, we just kept things relatively simple, because again, like I said, she was famous. So we opted to keep it out of like the media. So I would just pop in every now and again to her spot. Obviously, you know, stealthily because I can find my way into most buildings. It's part of the job. And at one point or another, I guess I looked at it more casually than she did. Or more so, maybe she was catching feelings for me. I am not 100% sure. But she got kind of possessive because I guess I didn't think about it at the time. But she didn't like the idea of me talking to other women. Which, again, I just assumed we were just, having a bit of fun because, we never really discussed anything about coming out as a couple or anything. So I just assumed it was like, oh, okay, we're just doing our own thing, two grown-ups enjoying one another's company from time to time. Fun. I ended up talking to a altered murderous female clone of Sonic from an alternate timeline. Long story, don't ask. I don't have a type. And so she didn't like that. So when she very publicly got mad, well, let's just say people tend to take notice when a popular celebrity feels slighted, especially when they're female. So she got mad. Her fans got mad, and they had no clue who to direct it at, because again, that would imply that she would have to announce to the public that she was seeing somebody, technically, and they would have ran with it and had a field day. Like, who is this? Who is her secret lover? Da 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 da. And I was like, okay, that's a bit much. We don't need to do all that. But she got kind of emotional and started lashing out at said friend, my friend Maury. And then she got mad because, again, serial killer, not exactly the most stable of emotions to run with. So then it kind of became, but obviously they never argued in person. I saw that myself because, yeah, knife goes stabby stab, and that's not a good idea. And it'd be really hard to hide that kind of a body. But still, I'm getting off topic again. They basically started having like the equivalent of a online squawking match for a while, no pun intended. And we kind of all after like how most celebrity drama goes. After like about a month of it, it just kind of fizzled out. And I talked to her after that, and I was like, "Look, my apologies if this didn't go the way you wanted. I didn't. I guess I wasn't thinking that far ahead, if at all. So, I said sorry. We agreed to go our separate ways. She was still a bit mad, so I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. I mean, like, there's always, more fish on the. I was gonna say fish on the platter, but do fish get served on platters? I want to say yes. Buffet would sound weird. But anyways, after that, give or take, about a year, afterwards, ran into her again. Just I was just wandering around doing my work as it does. I hadn't seen her since then, but heard from her here and there, or more so through the news outlets and media. She was still racing, so it's like, all right, cool, good for her. And then, she said hey. I said hey. She was friendlier than I would have assumed. Caught me off guard, actually, if you could believe that. So chatted up a little bit, and well, y'all know how conversations go with me. That being said, we both kind of just went like, it's fine. We'll just leave it at this. Keep it like, let's not have a repeat of last time. Plus, I think at that point, like, there were more eyes on her than usual, so anyone linking me to her would have just been, I guess, a bit weird. At least on her end, I was fine. And then, every now and again, we just kind of check in on each other. I see how she's doing. And one thing about her I definitely miss is she is a very passionate girl. I can respect someone that has that kind of oomph whenever they get into their feelings, just because I know it's sincere. Also, she has this really cool bath at her mansion where it's like a mini swimming pool. You just go in and the water just, but it's also like a hot tub and there's bubbles and stuff. And she has this little basket of fruit next to it with some like wine and everything. Oh, it's so good. I mean, also her as a person. I do still enjoy her as a person. uh, oh, and that